Hey everyone, this is Trevor Daly with MagMod. We are excited to start these How I Shot It videos again, and this week we're going to be doing it with Angie Nelson. Hey Angie, thank you so much for joining us on this How I Shot It. I'm so excited to have you. We're actually kind of restarting or revamping this this whole series, and I couldn't have started with a better person. So thank you again for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Angela, before we even start, I just want to mention your website, just so people can go check you out. It's angelanelsonphoto.com, and they can find you on Instagram at Angela Nelson Photo. Is that right?
Correct.
Awesome. So now, I got to say, based out of Maui, Hawaii, the big thing that people think about is the sunshine in Hawaii. You go and you get these beautiful natural lit photos and everything else, which I imagine is probably the case, right?
Yes.
Of course, when we chatted just prior, you had mentioned that it's like 60 degrees and you're cold in your house. Is that?
I have a heated blanket on right now. I'm really cold in my house at 60 degrees.
all these people in like in the very cold areas of the world are sitting there going like, what? 60 degrees? That's like our high in the winter.
Just saying that, but I promise 60 degrees in your house is really cold.
Yeah, I get it. I'm the same way here in Arizona. So now, again, the sunshine is the big thing, but why is it that you decided to use flash in your work? What was it about using flash and MagMod modifiers and things like that made you want to do that there in Hawaii?
Yeah, so I mean, we have beautiful natural light here and epic landscapes, but I really wanted to differentiate myself as a photographer out here and do something a little bit different, and using MagMod and off-camera flash is the perfect way to do that.
I've seen you over the years kind of progress, and it's been so exciting to watch you because it seems like you've just taken it and just absolutely run. I mean, I've been using Flash for years, and you've already surpassed anything that I know about it. So, no, truly, your work is phenomenal. So, if you don't mind, let's just jump right into this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that photo with the stars, the galaxy behind the couple. Can you tell us a little bit about what was your thought going into that photo, where you set it up, why you used the modifiers you did, and maybe even what were some of your camera settings?
Yeah, so this was my first attempt ever at a star shot. This is a little elopement over on the Big Island.
Wait. Did you say this is your first attempt ever?
Yeah.
And you absolutely nailed it? That's awesome.
I mean, there's a story here, but basically I had said to the couple, like, look, it's a new moon, which you got to have a new moon for epic star shots. Of course, Hawaii being the most isolated island archipelago in the world, we have epic stars. And so I just kind of told them this idea, and I was like, hey, after dinner, if this cloud's clear, because it was a really cloudy day, I would love to drive 10 minutes outside of all the lights and then, see if we can do the shot. So they followed me over to the side of this cliff, and we had to wait in between like cars passing because we didn't want any of that light leaking in.
Yeah.
So my husband, who came with me because it was, inner island, he forgot my tripod back at the hotel because he was meeting us out there. So I set my camera on a rock.
Nice.
And it's like pitch black out. Set my camera on a rock. It's a 30-second exposure. I had exit right here. I took it at 14 millimeters. I used my 14 to 24 on this. My ISO was at 2500 and aperture was at 4 for that. So 30-second exposure, and then I had the flash pop at the end. Okay. So I used a full CTO on this because my white balance was down to like 3500, I think. I dumped the white balance so that way I can bring out that blue in the sky.
Yeah.
And I used a grid and I used a sphere on this one.
So I think a couple important things to mention here is I love how you mentioned the white balance, that you brought your white balance down so you could really kind of bring out that royal navy blue, in that sky. And then you use the full CTO on them to basically neutralize it. So it looked balanced. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
And then a couple other things that you mentioned was the grid. What was the purpose in using the Mag grid on your flash?
I just didn't want any light spill happening. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of light you can see down by their feet, and that is actually ambient light coming from Kona, which is the orange in the photo. That's
gotcha.
the light reflecting off of the clouds, and it's kind of coming back and hitting that. Because of the 30-second exposure, it kind of lets in a lot of the ambient light. But I really want to control the light with the grid and bring it into just them. I didn't want it illuminating any of the grass or the rocks or anything, or I think, beer cans that were set right next to them.
No, that's awesome. And then the last thing you'd mentioned is you had the flash pop at the very end.
Yes.
So we call that in the photo industry the rear curtain, basically, right? Hitting it right before the flash, or excuse me, the curtain closes. Mm-hmm. Is there a reason? Like, have you done it in the front, and have you experienced any difference, or is that just something that you've kind of learned over the years that you know that that's the way that you want to do it?
Yeah. So if you do it at the front, you're going to get ghosting. So the flash is going to freeze anything that it touches. So I told them, of course, stay very, very still. Do not move. This is a 30-second exposure. Yeah. But I knew that even if they swayed a little bit, like all humans do when we're standing still, the flash at the very end would freeze them right where they were at.
So let's go on to this next shot. In fact, this is a photograph I saw not too long ago. I think you photographed this wedding just a few months ago, right? With the silhouette and the tree?
It was back in November.
Fantastic. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you were thinking going into the shot and how you set it up?
Yeah, so this couple was in love with this tree. So this is a very iconic tree at the Oluwalu Plantation House, which is one of our venues here on Maui. And they were totally into this tree. That's what sold it for them, this venue. And so I knew that after their sunset portraits, we went out to this little pier. We got beautiful shots with the mountain. I knew that I wanted to circle back to this tree after the sun had hit the horizon. So this was taken, I would say, probably 10 to 15 minutes after the sun had already set, because I didn't want direct light. Yeah. I wanted that color bleed, all that ambient light, and bringing out the pinks and the blues in the sky. And then, I put them against the tree, and then I pointed my flash back toward the tree. I put an orange gel on there and a grid. And nice. Let's see. So it did a 24 millimeter, ISO 800, f9 to make those silhouettes sharp.
Love it. Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point, because a lot of times we'll be shooting at wide open apertures, but if you want that silhouette to be super sharp, get that higher aperture. I also love that higher aperture in this shot because you can really see those mountains in the background. So you got the water and the mountains and everything back there, and it's all very much in focus as opposed to just kind of a blend of color, right? Right. Which I think works really nice.
For silhouettes, you want it really, really crisp. You don't want that shallow depth of field for that.
Yeah. I love it. So, and forgive me if you mentioned this, I might have missed it. Did you say you used the orange gel or the CTO gel?
I used the orange gel.
The orange gel.
This one. Yeah. Orange and blue are complementary to one another. And so I really wanted them to pop against that tree. And I had considered doing pink, but then I thought it might compete with the pink in the sunset. And so I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to just pull them away from the rest of the scene.
That's fantastic. I love it. Right on. This is amazing. I'm already learning some great stuff. So, Angie, no, truly. That's what I love about these How I Shot It's, which, by the way, we're going to be putting these out every single week now. We did these before. We took a little break for a bit, but we're excited to get them going again just because of everybody's been requesting them. So thank you again, Angie, for joining us. I learn so much every time I do these. So, and I think honestly, it's one of those things where I've been doing photography for so long, but I think it's just the small reminders. And so we hope to actually put these out on Friday so people can kind of get just a little refresher, a little 15-minute refresher before they go into the wedding or their shoots on the weekend. And then that way they can go, oh yeah, let's, shoot a silhouette, or I'm going to do this shot like Angie did, or whatever. So,
right.
Awesome. So speaking of which, let's go into one that's a little bit more, complicated, I guess you could say, being that you had to do a composite shot. So you shot this incredible photograph of the groomsmen, and we'll put up the big photograph here first so everybody can see it. Can you kind of walk through how you created this photograph?
Yeah, so this is a composite of 7 different images. I had them all stand in a line. They were up against like a tractor trailer container there. You can kind of see the lines behind them. Yeah. It was pitch black out. It was so dark. And they had a lot of alcohol in their system, so it was kind of like wrangling cats. But I had them all stand. They all had cigars that they were smoking anyway. So, yeah, I had them stand there, and then I used a blue gel behind them, pointed back toward the tractor trailer. I don't know, what are those called? Containers? I don't know. Yeah. I had it pointed behind them, and I just moved the light as we went. So I did that first, and then I circled back around to the groom. And for the groom, I just illuminated the side of his face with, it was a 1/4 CTO, and then a double grid on there. So I really wanted to concentrate that light. I didn't want any light spill. I just wanted half of his face illuminated with that little peekaboo of a cigar over on the side.
I love how you use that split lighting on him too, to really make him kind of stand out and make it very unique and different. So when you did the shot, when you did each one of the groomsmen separate, were you basically, did you have your camera on a tripod, or did you just?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I had my camera on a tripod, and then I went one at a time. So I would, I'd push the shutter, pop, went off, and then I would be like, "Don't move,"
Yeah.
and I took my flash, put it behind the next guy, go all the way down through.
Love it. On a shot like this, do you kind of pre-visualize how you want to see that in photograph before you even start doing it?
Yeah. So for this shot, I knew that I wanted to do something with silhouettes and these guys, and I know that they're all into like smoking cigars, and they like drinking whiskey too. And I considered them holding whiskey glasses, but I didn't know if I could get like the yellow of the whiskey to show, and would it just be a silhouetted cup, and that wouldn't look awesome. So I wanted to do something with the smoke, and I liked the silhouette idea. And originally in my head, the groom was going to be silhouetted too. Mm-hmm. But then I thought, well, then how are we going to know who the groom was, or like who was the epicenter of this whole thing? All these guys grew up together. They've known each other since they were like 5. And, hopefully I'll be photographing all their weddings, and then we could probably do something similar, but just swap the groom every
There you
time.
go. I love it.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's also interesting about this photograph that's worth noting is that for each of the groomsmen, you had them turn and give you their profile. So I think it's important when you do a silhouette shot to kind of make sure you can see more of their profile. It's not just their body. Otherwise, they all pretty much look the same.
Right.
So you can kind of see their chin, their nose, their cheeks, that kind of stuff. So awesome shot. I love it. And I love how you put it all together. Now, I imagine for the composite, did you just line it up in Photoshop and then just reveal each one? Is that what you did?
Yeah. Line up in Photoshop, use a little bit of eraser, and
cool.
Play around that way. It took way longer than it should have. Not great at putting together the composites, but I did it.
Kind of masking that stuff away. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. So Angie, to wrap this thing up, you have this this photograph. It's a reception photograph. Tell me kind of what was going through your mind here as you set up the lighting for it. And was this, let me actually just set this up. Was this a shot outside or inside?
This is outside.
I imagine lots of receptions in Hawaii are probably outside. Is that right?
They are, yeah. And that creates a big issue too with just lighting in general, because we don't have anything to bounce off of.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely do we ever have tents, and if we have tents, like bouncing a light off a tent is different than a white wall behind you.
Sure.
So I think concentrating your light in the places that you want it is really important. So this shot, it was a long farm table. Everyone was sitting there, and then they had these fairy balls that were hanging from a tree. It was really cool, and like just looking at it with your eye, I mean, you saw like the ambiance and the and the ambient light coming from it. Yeah. And it was just really, really beautiful. But I knew that for this shot, in order to highlight those fairy balls, that's what they're called, needed to kill as much ambient light as possible. I didn't want any light leaks in there. So I used a grid for this one. And I also used the sphere for it. In hindsight, I think I would have doubled up my grids to bring in that light even more. But I used a 1/4 CTO on there to make sure that their skin tones looked nice. And then you can actually see a little bit where the flash was placed. There's one fairy ball that looks a little more blue than the other one. So it was camera left.
I see it.
Coming down up at like about 7 feet, I guess. In there.
And that's about where your light was placed?
Yeah, I think that was at 1/64th power. I had to do a little bit of burning on the sides of them to get rid of the bride's sister. Kind of had a grumpy look on her face, even though it's really joyful. wedding. So I had to burn her down a little bit. But I think that adding that second grid in hindsight, I think that would have been much better. But I'm happy with how it came out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a beautiful photograph. And I think sometimes, when we're capturing those moments, every once in a while we get, the bride's sister could have been super, super happy the entire time, but sometimes we're just, readjusting ourselves or feeling that pain in our back from being on our feet all day long or whatever. And they'll get that little frumpy face or whatever it is. And so going in there and just burning someone down or making it a little bit darker is totally fine. I do think having two grids, it does make it a lot more narrow. So you don't have any room for mistakes. Like if things are moving a little bit, like there's nowhere to capture that. And did you, as far as stacking the mag grid and the mag sphere, did you just do that to kind of get that light fall off to be a little bit softer on the edges? Is that kind of
Yeah, I didn't want any harsh shadows on them. I wanted it really soft.
Yeah. One thing that always drives me crazy at receptions, and I don't know if you ever get this as well, but when they put like those big flower centerpieces right in front of the bride and groom, and you get shadows like falling one way or another.
Yeah, or they have the vase set up for the bride to put her bouquet in to make it like a centerpiece on the sweetheart table. Yeah. But I'm like, no, because then, if I want to do any cross lighting stuff, I have to be really, really mindful of that bouquet. Actually, sometimes I just end up going and stealing it. I'm going to take some pictures of your bouquet.
Right, exactly. The wedding coordinator is like, "Where's the bouquet? Where's the centerpiece?" You're like, "No, we don't want it there." No. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Angie, you killed it. And like I said, every single time I do these, I learn, and I'm so grateful for you to take the time to be on here with me, to be able to talk about some of these photographs. I guess just to kind of wrap this up, is there one particular MagMod modifier that you tend to use the most, or something that you kind of like you wouldn't be able to live without?
The grid.
The mag grid? Yeah.
Yeah. The grid stays on my flash 24/7. Also, I have the 1/4 CTO that's just on there. It's just nicer on the skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I keep the grid on there all the time. I don't like a lot of light spill. The only time I'm taking that grid off is if I backlight something. If I put the light, 5 feet behind the couple because I want to illuminate them from the back because we have some epic landscape.
Yeah.
Other than that grid stays on my flash all the time.
Love it. Yeah, it's funny. When I asked you that question, I thought, oh, she's probably going to say the CTO gel, because I heard that come up quite a bit. Yeah. But that makes sense, that the grid and the gel, that little quarter gel. I think that quarter gel kind of gives you that little warmth that, again, people will kind of recognize Hawaii, what that's all about, kind of that warmth in that sun. So anyhow,
right. Well, everyone wants to look like they have a little bit of a tan,
right? That's so true. That's so true. Very true. I need to start using that CTO more often in my selfies, like my iPhone. No.
Right.
Angie, you rock. Thank you so much. Again, people can find you at angelanelsonphoto.com or Angela Nelson Photo on Instagram. Be sure to go send Angie some follows and check out more of her work. Angie's based out of Maui, but you do all kinds of inter-island, right? Throughout all the different islands there in Hawaii. Yeah. So if you guys are heading that way, be sure to hit up Angie. She does some incredible photographs, not just of weddings, but also you do like elopements and couples and different things like that way. Is that correct?
Right.
Awesome. Well, Angie, we sure do appreciate you, and thank you again for taking the time. And everyone else, if you guys are tuning in, be sure to join us every Friday. We're going to be putting these How I Shot It videos out there so you guys can watch and learn. And if you're interested in being in one, let me know. So, Angie, you rock. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Trevor.
All right. Appreciate you. Bye, everyone.